Well, good day everyone, and a very warm welcome to Motorhoming Adventures. It's an exciting day because not only are we getting near to spring Europe travels, but it's also a bling day, which is probably why Nikki's not along for this ride, because I'm off to Essex. Essex to have some lighting upgrades done on the van before we head off to Europe. So as some of you will know who are regulars to the channel, we tow on the back of our motorhome a small trailer, only sticks out about 1.6 metres, on which we have Peggy, our Pegasus scooter, 300cc scooter made by Lexmoto. And when we were away last year abroad, and on the few occasions where I was coming into campsites at night, then the rear reversing lights on this Mobilvetta motorhome weren't particularly fantastic for navigating onto fairly dark or exclusively dark pitches. A, because the trailer got in the way slightly of the reversing lights, but also because the reversing lights themselves weren't that fantastic anyway. So I asked a good friend of ours, Jonathan, who owns MACSUK, Motorhome and Caravan Services UK, whether he would have a solution for said lighting problems. And of course, yeah, you guessed it, he most certainly has got a number of solutions. So we've travelled over to, or I should say I've travelled over to Essex, near to Colchester, where MACSUK are based. There is a link in the description to where I am at the moment. I've just pulled in, it's about 6-7 p.m, so just gone dark, and I've just pulled in at the Park for Night, which is next to MACSUK. A fantastic stopover if you're having work done here by Jonathan in Essex, and a facility which, if you wanted to know a bit more about it, do get in touch with Jonathan at MACSUK if you fancied a stop over here for work to be done on your motorhome or caravan. Without further ado, let me briefly explain, particularly now it's dark, which is why I waited to do this, because I can show you a couple of the issues that we have with the existing lighting on the van, and then hopefully you'll get to see the difference and the changes that Jonathan's going to make to the lighting on the van here. And that's going to include, in fact, not just rear reversing lights, but also side position lights, and also a change of headlamp bulbs. So let me just show you the outside of the van and give you a flavour of what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's just the standard driving lights. And then with, in this case, the near side indicator on, you see you've just got a couple of bulbs at the front there which flash, and at the rear then just that single low level indicator light there. So let's just pop the actual lights on then, and you'll see what that adds. And that's the reversing lights on. So you can see, particularly when I'm here now, looking towards the back, there's not much light thrown out at the back there. So couple that then with the fact that when we've got the trailer on the back, the trailer comes across and covers some of these, or the light given out by these two rear reversing lights. So they look quite bright, or quite substantial strip type reversing lights, but put the trailer across, or the Peggy the scooter across the back here on its transverse loaded trailer, and it blocks out a lot of that light. Not that there's a massive amount anyway. So the idea, of course, is to try and get a product which gives us much better view of the trailer as we're going backwards in the dead of night, as it is here, to just improve safety going backwards, but also Jonathan mentioned when I spoke to him about this issue that there are products which can replace these side markers as well and give much more visibility. They can be dual purposed into, instead of just being position lights, they can be indicators, and at the back as well We can improve the lighting on the back of the van generally with some higher visibility lights which double up as stop lights and indicators as well, and we can add some additional lower lighting, much brighter reverse lighting. And in fact, when you look at the van from the side here, particularly from a sort of pedestrian or cyclist point of view, coming up the inside of the van or outside, then these little position markers are quite dull, and therefore if there's an opportunity to make things a bit safer and a bit more visible, then I think that would be a good thing. So even without the trailer on, I've reversed into sites at times where using the light that you're seeing now from the reversing lights, and you still don't get a fantastically floodlit sort of area behind you as you're going, as you're reversing. That means that the camera is working harder to give you a clearer view from the cab. So generally, it's with or without the trailer, they're additions which I'm very much looking forward to and hoping will solve some of the issues that we spoke to Jonathan initially for, and also add some other improvements which I wasn't expecting, or which he suggested that we can get from the lighting upgrades, including obviously the upgraded headlamps at the front. So very much looking forward to it. So if it was something that you're thinking of for your van, then stay tuned, have a look at the process involved, see the products that we're going to fit to the van, and if it's something you think you fancy doing to your own vehicle, then do give Jonathan a shout at MACSUK. The contact details are of course in the description below, and he might be able to do very similar upgrades for your van, regardless of whether it's a Ducato or of course any other make or model. Here we go. We've got these are some super bright reversing lights which we're going to try and fit on the underside on each corner of the rear of the van, and then these ones we're going to try and put high level right up at the top there where those small position markers were that you saw, and then these are some alternatives to the position markers here, so you can see a much bigger unit, and they do a little bit more, or a few more things, bits and pieces, bit more functionality in those than there is in the original ones. So that's the plan, and as you can see, we are up and in the unit and getting going. The first job is to change the wiring of the existing position lights at the top there. That's 2-core wiring that comes down and provides power to the position lights at the top there, and we're going to change that from 2 to a 4-core wire to take the new light system. Using some guide rods then, the next job is just getting the guide rod down through the plastic surround at the back of the van there, down out of the bottom there. We've now attached the new 4-core cable to that, and that's now working. Jonathan's working its way up to the top there to wire for the new lighting. And the other key issue here is the cabling that goes down that plastic panel at the back there. Within that panel as well, there are obviously a number of other electrical connections, and the last thing you want to do when you're taking the rods down the back there is to separate one of the connectors, or one of the other connectors that are in that space. So that's another good reason why I'm over here at MACSUK, because Jonathan's knowledge of not only Mobilvettas but also many other motorhome and motorhome wiring systems allows him to know that the best routes for the wiring to go. So it's another good recommendation that particularly in respect to wiring, is that Jonathan's knowledge is second to none in terms of all the routing of either new or existing wiring. There we have the position light just going in at the top there. See, that did replace the red one that was up in the top corner there before, and then once we got it wired in and on, you'll see the lighting effects that you can get from it. And there is the old position marker. That's from the top left and right of the van. out with the old. And there's that 2-core wire that I mentioned, which we've now swapped to a 4-core wire. For those of you who haven't seen our previous films from here at MACSUK in Essex, then first and foremost go and have a check out of those films. Those are a couple of films about the power upgrades we did here, which is a real specialism of Jonathan's here at MACSUK. The upgrade to an off-grid system of Fogstar batteries, Victron equipment, some increased solar. So check out those films on the channel. What a fabulous red sun that is coming up. So we were here for an hour, got here quite late after travelling all the way across from Tenby, 300 odd miles, but it's worth every mile, as you'll see as the project goes on. Travelled over from Tenby, had a quick hour and a half, couple of hours in the unit to do some preparatory work, and then it's round the corner onto this, which is the Park for Night site here at MACSUK. MACSUK is based in the farm complex there, along with a number of other businesses. Got those units that you saw with the ramps and the van on last night, and this is the park up here. There is access to water here, and if you're staying here for any while, there are some toilets on site as well, but no showers as such. There's no fresh water here in the site, but there is in the yard there, so you can stock up. This is also a dog walk area as well, one of those sort of hire it for an hour jobs. So in fact, if you're bringing your dogs with you when you're having some work done, then you can give them a charge out here, or of course there's plenty of countryside around us on the farm, working farm complex here. A great spot indeed. And there you can see last night's work was to get the wiring into there. As you saw, those have been set in with some sealant, and therefore they've been going off overnight. The wiring was brought down through the sort of cowling, this cowling, hollow cowling, which takes a number of wire systems through it, and the wires are coiled up underneath, ready for the start of today's work. It's about an install wise, if you're interested in having similar lighting upgrades done to your motorhome, then it should really be a day's work, depending of course on the size of the upgrades you're doing. But for the upgrades we're doing here, which is the rear lighting, the position indicators, the upgraded headlamps and the improved reversing lights, then that's going to be all done within the day. So or could be done within the day, so it's not necessarily an overnighter here if you fancy a similar sort of upgrade. Look at that. What a cracking sunrise that is. Greeted by a couple of ducks in the little pond there. Very nice too. And that under there is where all of that electrical work that Jonathan has done previously here at MACSUK is hidden. There we go. Absolute work of art it was, and it's been running absolutely brilliantly off-grid. So if you're fancying a bit of an off-grid upgrade, then speak to Jonathan at MACSUK about that, as well as your lighting upgrades. On we go. From the rear ones have set overnight. Wiring was brought down there ready for this morning, so we're up and running. There you see the wiring that was brought down yesterday evening for that hour and a half or so that we were working on, and it obviously routes along here, and as you saw comes down the back of the van here and up through the cowling there. The plan is that we're going to get the reversing lights fitted on each corner, so that, because the trailer is slightly narrower than the wheel line, I should say, slightly narrower than the wheel line of the motorhome, so we'll get them on each corner low down so that the light actually floods underneath, lighting up both the trailer and obviously the ground behind. And these, as you saw a glimpse of yesterday, these are the two items that we're going to fit, one of these each side. And then of course these items, you can see there the slightly different sized light, and obviously the intensity and the brightness of them is significantly more than the existing ones that are on here. And you can just see, if we look behind there, you can just see the way that they're pretty straightforwardly wired in there. So that's for Jonathan's work today, to start getting those on and getting them swapped over. He's also having a bracket fabricated that allows these to fit better on the underside of the van, and that bracket will fit obviously on the back here, and just bring them down a little bit lower than the existing plastic bumper there. These ones loosened off down the side there as well, and then be disconnected shortly, ready for the new ones. There's the direct comparison there. So it's quite a small unit, and you see just a single bulb in there, whereas this unit, just a lot more to it, and it's got an LED strip in there with multiple bulbs. So you'll see, hopefully very clearly see, the difference when we swap one for the other around the van. Jonathan is adding another wire to the existing wires that were there when the old units were taken off, and the reason for that is that these side markers are now, with those larger lights, are going to double up as indicators as well, hence the extra wire feed. Now, to fit the lights low level at the back there, John is manufacturing and has had these shaped and cut, and he's drilled them, and we're now just getting a coat of paint on them, because those are now going to fit perfectly into this space here. Bracket will come across, drop down, and then the light themselves will be fitted here, which then allows that really good flood lighting of the trailer. So a really good bespoke making of parts to make this solution work. Soldering iron is out. Getting the wires prepped and now rejoined. And it'll be the same again all the way around the van for the other connections that are now wired in, quite a few extra ones. What's also encouraging as well, encouraging in a way, is that the where these connections, original Fiat connections were, or Mobilvetta connections were, some of the wiring in here was really badly corroded. They'd obviously not sealed them properly, allowed moisture in that started to degrade the wires, and so Jonathan has also therefore, as well as bringing in the new wiring, has put in new lengths as well and new connectors to ensure that you get a really good connection, because looking at the corrosion on some of the bits that have come off that are scattered on the floor there, there's no way they'd have lasted much longer in the condition that they were. So again, it's just a bit poor to see them that a vehicle which is only 3.5 years old now has got wiring in such a state, really. But it's an awful lot better now that the connections have been done properly, and then obviously heat shrunk as well, and got some proper weather protection. So almost there now. Jonathan's just working on the last one there, but you can see from that 2-core wire that was in there originally, you can see what the new setup is now. Very different, and quite a few additions to that to the wiring loom that's gone in and around and under the van. Look at this. This is a new piece of wiring that Jonathan is making up to enable him to wire into the loom itself. So disconnected this part of the existing loom. He'll build in this new part that he's done, which allows him then to integrate all the new wires for the reversing lights and some of the high level lights at the back. So that is some serious wire spaghetti going on there, fittingly called a spider. There we go, look, that is just about all of it now joined. What a scrambled egg of wires, but all the lighting's starting to work now, so fantastic results, and then all of this to tidy up. And some more wiring, used to wiring coming up on the underside of the van. And in fact, again, this one will probably come up through the battery box area, where at least the VB Semi, and we've also had cables for the HY4 levelling go up through the battery box, so that's a well-trodden route. And then those wires will come straight to the back of the van here, ready to be connected to our reversing lights, which will fit on the brackets that on which the paint is just drying at the moment, ready for fitting to the underside, to be screwed and stuck to the underside of the van to take the laser lights. And there we go. These are the finished article that Jonathan's fabricated. They'll fit up to the floor of the underside of the base of the van there, and then the bracket will be bolted into this tray here. The wiring for it, he's added an extra hole there so that the wiring will go straight out back through the bracket, and they'll sit hopefully level. The actual light themselves will almost sit level along there and in this section here, so it's the perfect spot really for a good low level lighting. And they'll have an independent switch as well, which is what the lighting's about there that Steve's doing, and they'll have an independent switch up on the dashboard of the van. There's the bracket fitted, and the wiring still yet to be tidied, but there's the new light in position there, so it's perfect. Those brackets are absolutely spot on. Lined it up with a tow bar and fits in really well there. Can't wait to see the effect. And yet again the dashboard's off, ready for some switches, and the battery covers off for the wiring in, the wire that's come up through the battery box. Some of the last phases before we light up like a Christmas tree, I suspect. So the van's been put back together again. All the dashboard's back in, the battery covers back on, you name it. The switch, an independent switch for the rear lighting now is just down the side here. Jonathan gave me an option for where you want the switching, so we've had it put just down the side here, little toggle switch there, and that will also work, because I've asked for it to also work when the ignition or the engine isn't running. And of course the idea of that is that if we've got, or if I'm trying to load the trailer or unload the trailer in the dark, then those additional floodlights, they are literally floodlights at the back there, will give us a fantastic amount of light to be able to do any of that loading or unloading once we're on a pitch, without having to start the engine perhaps and disturb our neighbours. So quite useful to be able to have it as an independent lighting system as well. And of course once you're in reverse, then your standard reversing lights will come on, but then I can also independently switch on the extra lighting. And that extra lighting, coupled with the camera system that Jonathan installed on the back of the van, which has a couple of feeds. It's got this one which is looking straight out behind the van, but then we can swap over, and that's looking here, down here. You can see that's actually the back of the van there. Just see the logo on the back of the van. There's the back bumper going along the bottom. So and some of the farm machinery that I'm currently parked up next to at the back there. So obviously you can see now with that sort of camera technology there, and with some really good floodlighting at the back, then that's going to be a really nice addition and a real help when we're reversing the vehicle at night. Something as well which is also worth mentioning is that Jonathan also has a courtesy car. So if you are coming to the Colchester area to visit MACSUK for one of the many services that he offers for motorhomes and or caravans, be it some of the stuff that you've seen on the channel with the electrical upgrades that we've done to the van, or now the lighting upgrades, headlight upgrades, reversing light upgrades, he now can offer a service where you can use the courtesy car. You can drop your van off, pick up the courtesy car by obviously arrangement with MACSUK, and either get yourself around during the day if it's a shorter job, or even potentially keep the courtesy car for longer if your van is in for 2 or 3 days having work done, which allows you to obviously to get either back home or to travel around and stay over at accommodation nearby. Okay, so upgrades done, and let's just fire up some of the lighting now. You can see these new side markers are much brighter. Then got some larger rear position lights, much brighter at the front there. That's a real improvement. Let's do some indicators as well now. So you remember we just had one at the front here and then the rear ones, but now we've got all these position markers are flashing. That was the visibility issue I mentioned. We got now the high level one up at the top there, together with the existing ones that were down there when we started. So again, with the trailer on the back there, the high position ones now give us that bit more visibility from the back, but the side ones in particular are really lovely and bright. Those full hazards on. Right, and then finally, you remember we had just sort of midway up here were the reversing lights, so they're still active, so let's get them on and then show you the upgrade to the reversing lights. There, that's the so those are the original reversing lights, and then now let's pop on the extra lighting that we've added. So you can now see, look at that, it's floodlighting the whole field behind us. But if I go down over here, you'll really get an idea now of the back. So that is some fantastic vision now for the trailer, for reversing the trailer, and for generally seeing what on earth's going on behind me when we've been coming into pitches late, which has been seriously missing since we've had the van, but now definitely not missing. Yeah, that's going to be great. That is a massive improvement. Well, it was like daylight last night when I put those reversing lights on. Really enjoyed that, getting those fitted, getting the upgrades done before we head away. A real bonus to be able to see where the trailer's going now on the back of the van. But you don't just need to be towing a trailer. You can see the increased visibility, the increased light, and all round you know, improved presence, safety presence really on the road, particularly from the sides and stuff where those previous side markers weren't very bright at all. So some great additions. Thanks to Jonathan at MACSUK for helping us out and getting those upgrades done. And interested to see those other vans as well, wasn't it? Those flexible solar panels going on to another one in for some battery work, some power upgrades there, a bit like we did to this motorhome. So of course, do have a look on the channel. If you're new here to the channel, do have a look on the channel. There are 2 or 3 films from here at MACSUK, Motorhome and Caravan Services UK, in respect of upgrades we've done here, not least of which was a power upgrade a few months ago. So thanks ever so much for watching. As always, I will now be able to see where I'm going, which is a bonus. And it's been great having you along. As always, our thanks to you for watching. Take care and bye now. Bye.